Hello, everyone, and welcome to Ripple Effect TV. I'm Khani Olshansky, and today I'm really excited to sit down with Jenn Scalia. Jenn supports high-achieving women to embody entrepreneurship, master their mindset, and build multi-six and seven-figure brands without sacrificing who they are. In our conversation today, we talk about how to consistently level up. We chat about how do you know what you truly deserve in life, and where do our motivations come from, and so much more. Please enjoy my conversation with Jenn Scalia. Hi, I'm Khani Olshansky, mama of four and creator of the School of Excellence system. And I'm on a mission to help early childhood leaders build and sustain schools of excellence. So if you want to create a collaborative culture, build efficient systems in your school, and design an environment that can grow your team, then you're in the right place. In the last 15 years that I've been working in the early childhood field, I've become deeply passionate of helping leaders with their mindset, their skills, the tools, and the strategies to build their schools. So each week, I'll share strategies, advice, coaching, and inspiring interviews. I know that you want to create a ripple effect in your school and your life. So let's do this together. So welcome to the show, Jenn. Really excited to have you here. Thanks for joining us on Ripple Effect TV. And I'm excited to really dive right in with you. I know that you have been you've been running your own business for quite some time now, and what you're really committed to is women and really embracing entrepreneurship. And I want to start off with the mindset of what it means to really level up. I know that you have been so committed to constantly shedding that old belief of who you are, replacing it with a new one, leveling yourself up. And I want to really start unpacking what that mindset is really all about, like how you do that.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely like the core of my work is just helping people mostly with the internal stuff. I obviously help people with the external and the things I have to do in their business as well. But what I've discovered is that it really is all about your beliefs, your stories, where you think you can go, how you want to show up, and really making a bigger impact more and more. And, you know, one thing I just do want to say is like, I don't think you need to like do a quantum leap, so to speak, like right off the bat, right? So some people are like, oh my gosh, if I'm not like a millionaire by tomorrow, then I'm doing something wrong, or it's taking too long, or, you know, one of the things I hear a lot is like, I'm not where I should be. And, you know, it's like, I feel like we all are always where we should be. As long as we're doing the work and we're taking the action and we're doing the movement, like we are exactly where we're supposed to be. And if it feels like I'm not there yet, then that just gives you an indication that you need to explore why, you know, and usually it comes down to some belief you have or some story that you have either about your version of success, your money, your mindset, how this is going to affect maybe your family, your relationship with your husband, all of that kind of stuff. So it's really deep stuff that I end up working with people in to uncover like why they feel that they're not where they're supposed to be yet.
Where does that, like, because I hear that a lot also, like, I feel like I'm behind, I'm trying to catch up, I'm not where I should be. Why is that so common? Why is it something that we hear so often?
I mean, for me, I feel like it's just the world that we're in. You know, we're in a world where people are online, like literally the bar to entry is so low, right? For somebody to come online and start sharing their message and sharing their successes and sharing their stories. And so, you know, what we're seeing like literally 24/7 is other people's highlight reels, right? So we're seeing the end result, or we're seeing like what they've been working behind the scenes for 10 years, 7 years, 15 years, you know, and that we forget that like it is a road, like it is a journey. Like I just celebrated like 7 years in my business, and I'm like, oh my God, it feels like that is such a long period of time, but at the same time, it feels like it went by so fast. And, you know, I can easily say the same thing. It's like, oh, well, after 7 years, I should be further along, you know, and it's just because I feel like we're just inundated with other people's successes. And so we start to compare ourselves essentially.
Yeah. And I mean, in general, as women, I know we're always in that like mindset of comparison and stuff like that specifically. And so for you, what is one kind of either practice or reflective question or something that you do when you find yourself going down that rabbit hole again of comparison or I'm not enough, or I should be further along? Like, how do you stop yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I like to be proactive, and I would love to share, you know,
Yes.
my process and what I do on a daily basis before that stuff even comes into my
Oh,
awareness,
I
you
love
know,
that.
because
Yes.
it's like
Yeah.
we can be reactive, and, you know, if we're just automatically focused on like other people's agendas, like whatever's in our inbox or whatever's in our newsfeed, it's easy to get sidetracked, and it is easy for us to compare and start to, you know, wonder where we are. So one of the, you know, main practices for me, and really it's become like a ritual, is journaling every day. And, you know, for me, the way that I journal is not, you know, I'm not just talking about like, oh, here are my goals and here are the things that I want to accomplish, or here's what I did yesterday. You know, really for me becomes this practice of taking a really long, hard look at like, what do I want for myself? What do I want for my life? How do I want to show up? What kind of mother do I want to be? What kind of businesswoman do I want to be? What kind of, you know, partner do I want to be? And I really, like, every single day I will write this out, and it doesn't take me that long. I know the process sounds like it would take a long time, but maybe it takes me like 15 to 20 minutes. And I'll go through literally every area of my life, my health, how I want to show up in my business, the amount of money that I want in the bank account. And I really just explore and really tap into more of like the desire of like, where do I want to be? Right. And so along with that, I do a lot of like affirmations, like I am statements and things like that, really getting in touch with who I am. So that way, like, I'm already in a good mood. Like, I just feel so ecstatic and excited about what's available for me and the possibilities that, you know, when I see other people's stuff, it doesn't affect me as much because I'm like so tapped into who I am that it doesn't, you know, it's not, doesn't permeate me like it used to before, when I just used to get so caught up and wrapped up in other people's stuff.
I love that. And I think we all know, intellectually how impactful gratitude and journaling and all of these things are. And yet it's still so challenging to make that part of our practice. And so I'm curious to hear from you, when you started this practice a while back, what gave you kind of, where did you find that momentum from, or essentially, I don't like this word, but motivation, to continue even when you weren't seeing this result or ripple effect right away?
Yeah, and I think that it, you know, for me in the beginning, I saw other people's evidence. So for me, it's like, if you're not seeing evidence yourself, borrow the evidence from somewhere else,
Oh, I
right? Like,
love that.
look for people that have already achieved what you want to achieve. Look for people that are doing the things that you do and are seeing results, because it takes time, right? For anything, for a practice, for a ritual, for success. So if you don't have it within yourself yet, look for the evidence that it's there somewhere. And, you know, for me, when I started it, you know, the whole practice came to me like through one of my coaches, and I saw what it did for her. And when I first started, of course, I was like, oh my gosh, this does not work. Like, this is just a waste of time, you know? And I committed, and I was like, I'm just going to do this for 30 days. You know, I'm going to do this for this 1 month, see what happens. And, you know, by the end of that month, like, the results happened so quickly. Like, I really just committed to it. Like, that was actually the month that I had my first 5-figure month in my business. And I remember like writing specifically like the number that I wanted to achieve, and, you know, and still in my mind, I was like, this is not going to work. You know, I still have that like little feeling, but I committed, and I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And I'm going to give it like a fighting chance to see if this can work for me. And then once it did, I was just like, holy cow, I'm never going to stop this, because now I have my own evidence that this works and that this can make a powerful impact on my life.
I think there's two really beautiful things in what you said that I want to, that's worth repeating. One is, you committed long enough to give it a fighting chance. I don't think we give great quality habits a long enough time for them to actually see, is this something that's going to work for me? So I love that commitment, and I wanted to highlight it. And the second thing is, borrowing the evidence from somebody else. Like, we don't necessarily need to see proof for ourselves right away, but there's proof in the universe that these concepts work. And so see if it's something that's going to work for yourself. So I appreciate you bringing that to everyone's attention here, because that's so powerful. When I think of you and what the work that you're producing in the world, and just the transformation that you've helped so many women achieve, you're so committed to never settling for anything less than you deserve in every area of your life, in your, relationships, in your intimate relationships, with your family, with your finances, with your health, with your business. Like, you just don't freaking settle. And where does that mindset and like, not so much mindset, but that grit and resilience really come from, that I am not settling for anything less than I deserve?
And it was a long road to get there. I want to also mention that, like, whenever I do interviews, I'm like, okay, I have to let people know, like, it was not always like this, right? Because,
yes.
People might be thinking like, oh, well, it's easy for you and you can do it and all that stuff. And, even 7 years ago, like before I started my business, I was a completely different person. I was the type of person who, it was everybody else's fault and I blamed everybody else for my circumstances and I never took responsibility. And, all of the stuff that was happening in my life, it was like, oh, woe is me, so I remember being that person, and for me, it was a process of, kind of these little things, like seeing the little bits of evidence and seeing the little bits of success and like just building upon each other, like really seeing the compound effect of everything that I was doing. And, once I started to see the possibilities and the probabilities for me, that's when things really started to change. I, again, was doing kind of this, like, borrowing the evidence of like, oh, well, she can do it. A lot of people, when they see other people, they'll get triggered or they'll get mad or they're like, oh, why is she able to do that and not me? And I would say maybe years ago I was like that, but that really quickly turned into like, well, she can do it, why can't I? And so I'd always look for that as well. Like, okay, this person is, like we said earlier, evidence that this is possible. And why wouldn't it be possible for me? I'm just as worthy as that person is. So, and it's hard sometimes to like, to stay in that, especially because I think we're taught to like be humble. I feel like I'm still really humble, but so like, I know that a lot of people get in their heads about like, oh, I can't brag about the things that I want, or I can't want these big things, or I can't have it all. Like, I would be too perfect and then people won't like me, so we have all of these stigmas, especially as women, of like what we can actually go for and what we can actually achieve and what that means about us as a person.
My gosh, there's so many things I want to pull out from what you just said, but for one thing specifically, we were talking about like what I deserve, like, can I have this, and am I enough? And I always find there's, I don't know if balance is the right word, but there's always this like push and pull between like, I am enough right now, I am worthy just the way I am, like what I have now is enough. And then this desire and this wantingness for more and for greater goals and a bigger vision and to dream bigger dreams. And for high achieving women, it's this constant push and pull where it's like, well, if I don't achieve that goal, then I'm nothing until I achieve that goal. How do you help women kind of separate those two things and be in the pursuit of excellence, but feel that they are enough in the process of that pursuit?
Oh, I love that. But yeah, that's exactly the work that I do with people. It's like being able, like you were mentioning earlier, gratitude. Like I am good enough right now. I do really appreciate all of the things in my life. I'm super grateful for everything. And I'm also allowed to want more. Like one of the things that came through me in a journaling session this week was around this idea of like, I'm always provided for, which we are. Like no matter where we are, we're always provided for. We always get what we need. Like there's just, we're not going to go hungry. We're not going to be able to not feed our kids. We're not going to be able to, not have a roof over our heads. We're always provided for, right? And we're just so used to the bare minimum or just enough. So how do you push those boundaries for that? And what came through to me in the journaling session was like, I know I'm provided for. I literally have everything that I want. And now I get to play in this desire realm. And when you come at like business or money or success from a playful place versus like, I've got to do this, I have to achieve this, I have to get this recognition, or I have to make this certain amount of money, two completely different energies. And, being able to play and being able to desire is a much more high vibrational thing and allows you to achieve those things much, much faster.
You also enjoy the process more. There's less stress, there's less overwhelm. Like you enjoy it. It's the desire, it's the playfulness. You enjoy where you're going. So I love, again, a lot easier said than done, but even just having the contextual model and understanding what we're trying to wrap our minds around is so powerful. So when you think about, one of the things I talk about a lot is not so much looking for the latest tip, because again, journaling, gratitude, sometimes they can be looked at as like a tip or a hack or a trick or something like that, when really it's about like embodying the identity of someone. Like, I am someone who journals. I am someone who is always grateful, is very different than like, yeah, I checked up journaling off my to-do list. And so I'm really obsessed with skill development and really constantly looking at what skill do I want to develop this year? How do I want to show up into this conversation? Like, you know, and so for me, just personally, like, I've really been looking at embodying this concept of humility, because now that I'm building my team, all of a sudden my ego is like really being wrapped up around like, oh, this person can do this better, and this person is actually really smart, and you know, this like, and even though I want to be surrounded, like I say, surround me with smart people, because you know, then the business can get better. Yeah, but then when your ego gets right, it's like, whoa, 1 second here. So for me, I'm really being focused on humility, and like, how can I bring humility into this conversation? How can I bring curiosity into this conversation? So my question to you is, you know, someone who is playing at your stage of business, at your stage of success, what kind of skills or things are you really committed to right now? Are you kind of exploring or playing with at this stage of growth?
Yeah, I think there's two things for me. The first one is celebration. And I think this is something that we definitely don't do enough as women, especially as high achieving women. It's like, as soon as we hit a goal, it's like, what's the next one? What's the next one? And that's, you know, like, that just becomes where we were just saying, you can't enjoy the process when you're always just looking for the next thing. So I've really been playing around with like really celebrating like the little things, the big things. And this brings enjoyment into the process. It brings like, you know, gratitude into what you're like, a real, like, this is a real life gratitude. It's not just me writing it on a piece of paper, but it's like, I need to celebrate this, whether that's going out to dinner, whether that's giving yourself a bubble bath, whether that's buying yourself a gift. Like, I just bought myself a luxury purse for the first time ever, you know, and I was just like, oh my gosh, like, I deserve this. Like, I'm celebrating, you know, my successes by doing that. So I think definitely celebration needs to be something that is more prominent in our practices, like in our daily things. Like, maybe it's once a month, maybe it's once a week, but really celebrating and enjoying the little steps that you're taking along the way to those big goals. I think that's something that we forget. And the other part is just really dialing into like more of a creative process. And for me, that has become like art, and spending time on doing things outside of the business, right? Like, doing things that can fuel the creativity in me and bring me more ideas and bring me more focus into what I'm doing. So I really love like playing around with things that are outside of business, but all in all, it's going to help me just be a better person, you know, have more skills, have more focus, be more creative, have more ideas. So those are kind of the two things that I am working on right now.
I love that. Can you give an example of something where you're playing with creativity that's like outside the business?
Oh, yeah. So actually what I do is I create like this digital art, and I actually have like a whole Instagram, like just for my art. And so it'll take me probably like 2 to 3 hours to do one picture. But it's like, I'm not thinking about anything else. Like, I'm not thinking about what so-and-so is doing online. I'm not thinking about like checking my Stripe account. I'm not thinking about like, oh, I got to send this email. It's like, I'm so focused on creating this piece of art that, you know, my brain is just focused on, it's turned off, and it just gives me fuel to come out with new ideas. So
Yeah.
I'm really excited about that.
I love that. I love that. So I want to tap in here before we kind of wrap up. Is, you're a mom. How old's your son now?
He's 9.
He's 9. Okay. Oh my gosh, that's right. He's the same age as my son. Yeah. Right. I remember that they were around the same age. So, you know, a lot of the people listening to this show are moms, whether they have young kids or older kids or school age kids. And so I'm always curious to hear from fellow moms who are building, just who have massive dreams for themselves that are separate from family or relationships or whatever it is. What are some ways that you take the time to really connect with your child, separate from the business, in just as a mom, like just me with my son?
Yeah. I love it. I love it. Cause my son is like, he's like my BFF. He's my baby. Like, I'm like, we just have this like such an amazing bond together. And, it's probably different when you have multiple kids, but like, I just have the one.
Yeah.
So like, we're literally like best friends, and, us, like, we're lucky because the way that his school schedule is, like, he doesn't start school until like 9:30, which is like so late. So we spend time in the morning. Like, we both get up at like 7 and we spend time in the morning, and we both read, and we're talking about different things. Like, he'll be like, Mom, what's this book that you're reading? And, he'll like really want to get into like the things that I'm doing. And I love it. It's just so cool to be able to just spend quality time, because I think that there's a difference between like, I have to be with my kids all the time and I have to do whatever, but when you're not present, it doesn't really count, right? So it's like, even those 2 hours in the morning and like 2 hours when he gets home from school where we're really present with each other, it just makes all the difference in how we connect with each other.
I love that he's curious and asking you questions about what you're doing, because again, our kids see what I do, see what we do more than what we say to them or whatever it is. And so it's just the example that you're setting for him, that you're someone who's always in the pursuit of something more amazing, more beautiful, reading, like always filling your mind with beautiful things. It's just such a beautiful message to send our next generation of children. So thank you for sharing that. So what is a really great question that someone has asked you recently, or that you've asked a client?
Oh, this is a good one too. So there's actually a couple. There was actually one on a podcast that I was on yesterday where before we even started, she asked me like, what's your intention for this podcast? And I was like, oh, nobody has ever asked me that. Like, I've literally been on hundreds of podcasts and no one has ever asked me that, like right before we went live. And I was like, that's really amazing. Like, usually like as the host, like you have your own intention of what you want to bring, but like no one's ever asked me as a guest what my intention was with the interview. And I thought that was really, really cool. And another question was actually with that I asked my clients, because right now I'm like really into like messaging and like owning your truth and showing up online, just truly has how you are. And one of my clients was like, I always filter myself. I find myself filtering myself. And the question I asked her was, who are you filtering for?
Oh,
I think it's like so important, right? Because it's like, yeah, we are dialing back, our light or our truth, and, not saying certain things. And I'm like, but for who? Like, and I think it's really important to know what that is, what the answer to that question.
That's something so beautiful to even journal about. Like, I love that question prompt for myself for my journaling tomorrow morning is like, who am I filtering for? Because we all filter in different areas of our life. Maybe it's not when you show up online. Maybe it's when you're with your kids or when you go to the school or whatever it is. Like, who are you filtering for? Oh, thank you so much for that gift.
You're welcome.
I love good questions. So 2 more things for you before we tell people where they can go to find out more about you. What is your Ripple Effect challenge for our audience? This is Ripple Effect TV. We're all about what we do creates a ripple effect in our lives and the people that, depend on us or are part of our community and our circles. So what is your challenge for our audience today?
Oh, I would love to give everyone the challenge to do what I did for those 30 days and like give yourself the gift of journaling in the way that I described, where it's like, it's not about what you want or what you do, but it's like, let me imagine my life and let me get really proactive with like who I want to be and how I want to show up in the world. I give this challenge a lot to people who are maybe skeptical, or they're like, I don't know if it works. I'm like, 7 days. 7 days. 7 days. That's it. You don't have to do the 30. Get 7 days. Just give this. I say give this time to yourself, because when people tell me, oh, I don't have time or where am I going to fit it in? I'm like, very first thing in the morning, before you let anybody else's agenda come in, give yourself 15, 20 minutes. Like, if you can't give yourself 15 to 20 minutes, that's a problem anyway. So, that's something that you'll have to fix.
Yeah.
So 15 to 20 minutes journaling, 7 days. Everything's going to change. Your relationships are going to change. How you show up is going to change. Things I find like magical things start happening, like, oh, a random client might just reach out to you, or you might get some money in the bank, or somebody might come to you with an opportunity. Like, when you're really in that space of like owning who you are and having gratitude for what you have, miracles can happen. So give yourself that gift.
I love that. This has been really special just for me, just to see. I love seeing confident, bold, badass women like just really own who they are, be confident in what they want to share, are inspiring, and are just unapologetically, I cannot say that word properly, bringing value to the world and to the people that are part of their circles. So I just really want to thank you for what you're doing in the world, for the message that you're bringing. Everyone has such a unique voice, and I just really thank you for what you're doing. And where can people go to find out more about you, the work that you're doing, what you're up to, follow your creative art? Like where can people go to find out more about?
Awesome. Yeah, so I have a Facebook group that's where I'm in all the time. I'm doing Facebook live streams in there, posting a lot of really great content and inspiration. That's at jenscalia.com/tribe. I also have a podcast called Meant for Millions. We just rebranded, and I'm like so excited because these are really short. They're maybe 10 to 20 minutes, like actionable, like listen to this, get inspired, go take action. And you can find that at jenscalia.com/podcast. And yeah, I think those are the two biggest ones. Oh, and my art. So my art, I have my own Instagram just for my art, and I can actually just give you the link because if I spell it out, it might take too long. I would love to give that to you so you can actually see like the things that I'm working on.
I love that. Jenn, thank you so much for coming here. Thank you for bringing all of yourself to the show. Really appreciate your time. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
If you like this video, make sure to subscribe using the bell so that you get notifications when we release videos twice a week.